Peace Operations Training Institute, Sexual and Gender-Based Violence. Lesson 1. Understanding terms and concepts related to sexual and gender-based violence. Understanding the terms used to describe sexual and gender-based violence is key to understanding the concept. This lesson seeks to demystify the different terms used to describe SGBV and explain why they matter. What is sexual and gender-based violence, SGBV? Gender-based violence, GBV, which can also be referred to as SGBV, refers to acts that are perpetrated against a person's will and based on their gender. The abbreviations GBV and SGBV are often used interchangeably. What does SGBV include? SGBV is an umbrella term that refers to harmful acts perpetrated against an individual based on their gender and against their will. A type of violence rooted in the abuse of power, unequal power relationships, harmful gender norms, and gender inequality. Violence that can include sexual, physical, mental, psychological, and economic harm, including denial of resources or access to services. Acts occurring in public or in private. Violence that can also include threats of violence, manipulation, or coercion. Violence that may take many forms, including child marriage, female genital mutilation, intimate partner violence, sexual violence, and so-called honor crimes, and a serious violation of human rights that can affect everyone. Knowing more about different types of SGBV is important as it will help identify which services are needed when responding to different situations. SGBV may not always be sexual or even physical in nature, although it can include sexual violence. Violence against women and girls is one of the most prevalent human rights violations in the world. It is important to also note that men can be victims of SGBV, and that members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex and queer, and members of sexual and gender minorities are often targeted at higher levels. What is sexual violence? Sexual violence, as defined by UN Women, refers to any sexual act committed against the will of another person, either when this person does not give consent or when consent cannot be given because the person is a child, has a mental disability, or is severely intoxicated or unconscious as a result of alcohol or drugs. In the Rome Statute, the treaty that established the International Criminal Court, ICC, crimes against humanity listed under Article 7 include the following acts of sexual violence: rape, sexual slavery, enforced prostitution, enforced pregnancy, enforced sterilization, and any other form of sexual violence of comparable gravity. What is sexual assault? Sexual assault is a form of sexual violence. It typically refers to involving someone in a sexual activity without their consent, and can include threats of physical aggression or emotional abuse, unwanted physical or sexual touch, and rape. What is rape? Rape is the perpetrator invading the body of a person by conduct resulting in penetration, however slight, of any part of the body of the victim or of the perpetrator with a sexual organ, or of the anal or genital opening of the victim with any object or any other part of the body. What is sexual slavery? Sexual slavery encompasses the sexual exploitation of individuals through the use or threat of force, often occurring in times of armed conflict or belligerent occupation. There may be no financial gain in sexual slavery, unlike in the case of exploitation or prostitution. What is consent? Consent is the agreement to take part in a sexual act with someone. Consent cannot be given in settings with unequal power dynamics, or when someone does not have full decision-making capacity. Consent must be given freely, affirmatively. Silence or the absence of no is not enough. There needs to be an active yes, and the person should not appear to be worried or unsure. And must be informed. The person consenting must have all the facts. Consent to one act does not mean consent to other acts, and consent can be revoked at any time. What is conflict-related sexual violence, CRSV? Conflict-related sexual violence falls under the broader umbrella of SGBV. It refers to rape, sexual slavery, forced prostitution, forced pregnancy, forced abortion, enforced sterilization, forced marriage, and any other form of sexual violence of comparable gravity perpetrated against women, men, girls or boys that is directly or indirectly linked to a conflict. The broader term, SGBV, should be preferred, but it is essential to accurately reflect the terminology used in policies and data, which often focus on CRSV. What is forced marriage? Forced marriage is distinct from sexual slavery and other forms of CRSV. Conflict-related forced marriage can be defined as intimate relationships that 1. Are facilitated or enforced by armed actors, 2. Are referred to as marriages, involve a marital ceremony, or result in the parties being called spouses, and 3. Are conducted without the complete and free consent of both parties. What is sexual harassment? According to the UNHCR, sexual harassment includes any unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature that might reasonably be expected or be perceived to cause offence or humiliation. While typically involving a pattern of conduct, sexual harassment may take the form of a single incident. Sexual harassment can refer to unwanted general sexualized comments, discussion, gossip, or rumors, unwanted receipt of sexual content including, but not limited to verbal, image, or video content, unwanted romantic or sexual advances, displays of jealousy, revenge, or retaliation for unreturned advances, including extortion, and actions intended to create pressure to submit to romantic or sexual advances. What is sexual discrimination? Sexual discrimination refers to any distinction, exclusion, or restriction made on the basis of sex which has the effect or purpose of impairing or nullifying the recognition, enjoyment, or exercise by women, irrespective of their marital status, on a basis of equality of men and women, of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, cultural, civil, or any other field. What is sexual exploitation? Sexual exploitation refers to actual or attempted abuse of a position of vulnerability, differential power, or trust for sexual purposes, including but not limited to profiting monetarily, socially, or politically from the sexual exploitation of another. What is sexual abuse? Sexual abuse refers to actual or threatened physical intrusion of a sexual nature, whether by force or under unequal or coercive conditions.